Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show which coin is going to perform the best this next couple of months. And that coin is REN USD. I firmly believe REN is going to be the best performing coin in the next couple of months. And I'm going to show you why in this video. So right now, we have to lay the foundation of where we think the crypto market is going to go. So in my opinion, the market has three ways of going. Either done dropping right now. So it's one, it's done dropping, right? Two, it goes to 30K. So Bitcoin goes to 30K. And three, it goes to 20K. So right now I'm going to sort of more or less go through each of those options and then explain why I think REN is going to do the best out of the next upcoming thing. So personally, out of all three options, I think the crypto market is pretty much done dropping. I think this is where we're at right now. I'm gonna show why. And I'm gonna show the possibility of it going to 30K, and then I'm gonna explain why I don't think it's going to be 20K. So keep in mind of these percentages. So if Bitcoin were to drop right now from 40K down to 30K, that's a 20% drop, right?
Yeah.
That means that most alts are gonna do negative 30% drop, okay?
Yeah.
If Bitcoin drops to 20K, Bitcoin will drop around 50%. Is that right? Because it dropped from 40K to 20K, right? Mm-hmm. That means that most alts are gonna drop around 70, 80%. So given that knowledge, right? I made a previous video about Litecoin of why I think Litecoin is a better predictor of how the market is gonna do versus trying to analyze Bitcoin. So just to summarize, Litecoin, so this is Litecoin USD divided by WM2NS. So when you divide WM2NS, that's you removing the US dollar inflation rate out of Litecoin. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you get a specialized chart. You have a special chart that most people won't know about. So in the previous video, essentially what I said was that Litecoin has three main properties. Every time it pumps up by 100%. Every time in a bull market, it drops, it pulls back by negative 83%. Whenever Litecoin pulls back during a bull market, it pulls by negative 38%. Every time it pulls back during a bear market, it pulls by at least negative 70%. So these are the properties of Litecoin, okay? Remember that one?
Yeah.
So that essentially means, so given the three options, right? Either we're done dropping, Bitcoin goes to 30K, or Bitcoin goes to negative 20K, right?
Yeah.
That would essentially mean that Litecoin is either done dropping now, it will either drop down to this part right here, right? You see this little part right here?
Yeah.
So essentially you just do a negative 30% from where it's at, right? So that lines up with here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Or it drops by negative 70%, which would essentially land it down towards the very bottom of Litecoin, right?
I see.
So those are the three options. Either we're done, we go here, or we go here. And the reason why this is not a possibility is that typically when you make a 0.618, this is what I mean by 0.618, right? If I draw from the bottom to top, from the top to the bottom, it goes to 0.618 here, right? Mm-hmm. Typically when a chart does that, the follow up, so pretty much the remaining part that it goes right here, does not like to go down to these levels.
Yeah.
It typically likes to make a higher low. You get it? Mm-hmm. So given that we've already done negative 70%, right?
Yeah.
But the possibility of going to negative, so let me just do this perfectly. Given that Litecoin has done negative 7%, in theory, it could be done dropping. In theory, because Litecoin did negative 70%, we are done dropping. But it can go as far as negative 70%, because last time we proved that Litecoin can theoretically go up to negative 76%, remember? Mm-hmm. But for me, I believe we're done dropping, simply because the length of time where Bitcoin's at, this feels like the more appropriate thing. But I'm not ruling out that it can still go lower. Just that based on everything that I'm seeing, we're pretty much done dropping.
Yeah.
So now let's go down the path of as if we're done dropping, okay? So if we are done dropping, then the next thing that we have to worry about is, if I were to buy right now, when is the next time I should get out before Bitcoin does another pullback, right? Because if we look at Bitcoin doesn't always go straight up, right? Like it goes straight up and then it pulls back. Like you notice, like it goes straight up, pulls back, up, pulls back, up, pulls back, right? So in the ideal case, right, it goes up. We want to avoid this drop, right?
Yeah.
Because we would end up saving, 25%. That's a lot of money, right? You save a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
So if you use Litecoin, you'll be able to know when to get out. So I will loop around from Litecoin into REN in a little bit, but I'm gonna explain how you would know when to get out. So remember that every time Litecoin pumps, it pumps up at least 100%, right?
Yeah.
So we know that if we're done dropping, we will not have a pullback for the entirety of all of crypto until Litecoin does at least 100%, right? So if we pull up another chart, right? Go ahead and pull up another chart. If we look at Litecoin and we just did 100% from where it's at right now, then we know that the entirety of crypto cannot pull back until Litecoin is at least around 200. When you see Litecoin around 200, you should be sweating your pants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your thought process is, I need to get out. out. I need to get out. I need to get out.
Yeah.
You get it? So let's just keep that in mind. I'm just gonna leave this here, right? So one of the things you notice, right, on this linear timescale. So right now we're on linear timescale, right? I didn't highlight this log down here. You notice this?
Yes.
So if I drew a trend line from here to here, right? So I'm just matching this high to this high. Notice this?
Yes.
Then in these situations, what's gonna happen is that most likely we're gonna touch this trend line and pull back. So, and that should correlate with when Litecoin is at least 100%. Got that?
Yeah.
So if we drew from, I'm taking a look at this high, right? I'm drawing this Fibonacci down here, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, you'll just more or less have to take my word for it. I noticed that whenever this type of formation happens, it's usually around 0.441 that it pulls back. So, but it doesn't have to be. It could be higher than that, right? So essentially, in this range is when Litecoin pulls back. But the more primary thing to think about is when you see Litecoin hit this trend line, you should get out. So let's verify that it's at least 100% pump. Let's verify that first. So if we go from top to here, right? This is 99%. You notice if I go from 0 to 0.441 right here, it's very hard to see, but try your best to get it. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go ahead and put this onto the right side so that way you can see it a little bit better. Go ahead and put it to the right. Okay. Now you see this 0.441, right?
Yeah.
So if I drew from the bottom to 0.441, that should be at least 100%, which it is, right?
Yeah.
And we've proven before that Litecoin can go up to around 150%. So if you see Litecoin in this range, right, then essentially all of crypto you need to think about getting out because it's going to do a negative 38% pullback. Litecoin itself will do a negative 38% pullback, which means most coin will do a negative 38% pullback. Obviously, with the exception of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's going to do less of a pullback.
Yeah.
So we know that it's going to look something like this, right? And then it does a negative 38% pullback. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm looking out for the next upcoming month. I'm expecting that every single coin is going to do, most coins are going to do pretty well. And I'm going to loop around to explain why Ren is going to be the best one. So once we hit here, my thought process is I'm getting out because I'm going to save myself that negative 30%, right? We are not going to move up that fast. I tell you right now, we are not going to move up that fast. So we're going to do a negative 38%. And when I see Litecoin finish a negative 38%, I'm going to buy again. I'm going to buy whatever alt at that time is going to be best. So this is what I see, which is similar to this point right here. We're very similar to this point back in August of 2020. Yeah. You know what I mean? So so now I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put Litecoin on the log scale, right? Yeah. So this should be very similar to Litecoin when it's here, right? When it's about to do this massive ass run. I know it's pretty hard to see because I have all these indicators on, so I'm just going to try to hide the indicators, right? I'm just going to hide all the indicators. So if I drew this trend line on the log scale, you notice how like once we broke out of this log trend line right here, you see this in November 2020, we just went on a massive bull run. So that's going to be the same thing coming up here, right? So now I'm just going to draw this on the log scale right here. So there's going to be two separate lines right here, right? So essentially we're going to hit this line here. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw, like just draw some amount of time, right? We're going to hit this. And this is when we pull back a little bit and then we just go on a massive run. You get it?
Yeah, I see.
So if we put it back on a linear scale, it will look like it's around July when we start having this massive run. It will be equivalent to let me go ahead and mark it right here. So I'm gonna mark this right here, right? You see this little square, I'll mark it right here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this other ones to avoid confusion. Yeah. Right? So if we put it on the linear scale, it's around November 2020. So it's around July when we go on a massive run. So this upcoming pullback is not the actual start of the run. It's the one after this one. You get it?
Yeah, I see.
So from here to here, I'm trying to argue that Ren is I don't know if it's going to be the best, but out of all the coins I've seen, it looks like it's going to be the earliest at the very least. Yeah. So you could, in theory, just walk away with this 2x with Litecoin, get out and then wait a little bit, and then around early May you just rebuy back Litecoin. You could just do that. Yeah. But I do think Ren is better because it's a lot more ahead in terms of the timeline. So now I'm going to explain why Ren is the best. So notice this breakout right here, right? So look on just on the linear scale, right? Just look on the linear scale. It broke out of this trend line, right? So the linear scale it broke out of the trend line. Litecoin hasn't done that, but Ren does. Ren has already done that, right? But Litecoin has not. So let me just go back to Litecoin. Just go to LTC USD divided by WN2NS, right? So notice that we haven't even touched that part for Litecoin. Like this is Litecoin's linear scale, right? We haven't even touched it, right? But if we go to Ren, we've already passed that point, right? We've already passed this point. Oh, actually, not sure if I drew it correctly. This is like this. So Litecoin has barely done it. But Ren on the log scale has also broke it. So if you put Ren on the log scale, right? Yeah. Trend line, it has already broke it as well. It already broke this trend line. So this one was the linear one. This one is the log one. So it broke out of it. So this is very similar to Waves. So if you've been looking at the crypto market, Waves has been doing really well, right? Yeah. So from the bottom to the top, Waves has done 3.5x. So you would have gotten 3.5x. So notice every 200 you add one more for the multiplier.
Yeah.
So if you had $1,000, you would walk away with $3,500. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we put this on the log scale, it's the same thing, right? Once a coin breaks out of its log trend line, it goes on a massive run.
Yeah.
So similarly, I think the same thing is for Ren. Right? Notice the similarity between it, right? Once it break out, it's gonna go to the, granted it pulled back and it's doing it, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna break it.
Yeah.
Right? So if we go back to Waves, we just look at it side by side. Waves looks like this, right? You gotta take a mental image of that, and then Ren looks like this. So as of right now, as of today, right? As of March 12th today, Waves has hit this long-term trend line, right? And it hasn't broken out of it, right?
Yeah.
So my assumption is going to be the same for Ren. So if you buy Ren right now, right, and you just have this long-term trend line, then the expectation is that it's probably gonna hit about $1 or a little bit less than $1 before you should get out, right? You can also try the log thing where it's around $1. My expectation is $1, right? Because people like whole numbers.
Yeah.
So around April or May, I expect earlier. It's actually earlier than was ahead of Litecoin. So my expectation is about sometime this month it's gonna hit $1. Maybe a little bit longer, I don't know, but more or less is that it's going to do, if we go from where it's at right now, right? Yeah. From the bottom to the top, it should be around the similar types of game, right? We're just gonna go straight to $1. That would be 300%, which is equivalent to 4x. So when most people see this video, if they get in at around 31%, 35%, I'm not endorsing this. Like that's just how I'm gonna play. I'm not responsible for anyone's trade. You gotta make your own judgment. Like this is just what I see, and like if it goes south or it goes sideways, I'm not responsible. This is why I always make a disclaimer for every part of the video. It's like everyone's for themselves. So I do see a 2x. So for me, I'm gonna take that 2x if I see it, right? Yeah. Sorry, not a 2x. This will be a 3x. So this will be more than Litecoin, right? Litecoin gives 100%, which is a 2x. Ren gives 180%, which is a 2.8x, right? Yeah. So that's what I see. I think Ren is the best. Hopefully, I provided enough evidence for that. So that's what I think. It's hard to grasp all of this information because you have to understand a lot of the core fundamentals of Litecoin, of like, why does Litecoin have to do like that? But just look at the previous video, and then you will understand how I see the market, and then you will be able to make additional judgment calls on top of that information, right? Yeah. A lot of these things are like that, right? You have to build a base of knowledge and then build from that. So, hopefully you guys found this video helpful.